I don't really know how to introduce you, Pat, other than you played for Liberty, played at LCA back in the day. What's your official title? I mean, I know we see you on the pregame coverage.
I think my official title is college football color analyst, but I think the more appropriate title is just a lover of football.
Let's go with college football color analyst just because it makes you sound even smarter. And with having to deal with Nick Pierce on a podcast, which is very successful, I might add as well. Let's give you all the credentials we can give you.
I'll take anything that I can get.
So we'll talk about the podcast with Pierce at the end so you can promote that. But let's talk a little bit about what happened with Liberty last week. A win is a win, but I don't think any beauty points are going to come away from that Akron game. What did you see?
I saw a defense that really bowed its neck. I mean, this is kind of the what they hang their hat on, I think. And it sounds bizarre with Hugh Freeze being the offensive genius that he is, but I really think this is a defensive team, and they've just got so much depth on that side of the ball. But I saw a defense that just kept making plays, and then fortunately the offense was able to muster enough to get the job done. And Hugh Freeze has said it before, and a lot of college football coaches say the same thing. Winning is hard, and, the sign of a good team, it doesn't have to be pretty, but being able to get that win is huge.
I know a little bit before your time here, but is this a situation like the 85 Bears where it was so good, or the Ravens with Ray Lewis and everything, where the defense is going to have to win them games and the quarterback is just going to be out there to, I hate to use the term, not screw it up, but not screw it up?
Bob, I think that the offense is still kind of finding its identity, having played, I think, 4 quarterbacks now through the first 4 games of the season. That's pretty unprecedented. And I think the offense will continue to find things out, but I do think the defense is going to have to continue to make strong performances and make plays until the offense really starts clicking. And whether that's getting Caden Salter back or Charlie Brewer back down the road, I do think that the defense is going to have to continue to play well, especially with some of these games that they have on the schedule coming up with BYU and Virginia Tech. It's definitely going to require everything that defense has.
Are the offensive skill positions really that good, or is the offensive line also making them look that good from your perspective?
The offensive line from Liberty's standpoint?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I think they have playmakers across the board. It's almost like Liberty has an embarrassment of riches in terms of just the talent that they've been able to bring in with, Dede Hunter from Hawaii. From a receiver standpoint, we haven't seen all of the production just yet. But, Demario Douglas is a guy he's going to play on Sundays. And there's just so much depth at the receiver position with C.J. Yarborough and Noah Frith and Caleb Snead, the FCS All-American. He's the guy that's got almost 2,500 receiving yards in his career. They have playmakers across the board. And you mentioned the offensive line. They're drastically improved from last year. They're taking some really good strides. And, I think they were second to last in the NCAA last year in sacks allowed. And they're doing better this year. So I'm interested to see how they continue progressing as they get more playing time together.
Yeah, and it's really different to me because when you watch the offensive line last year under Malik, and Malik was such a great athlete, the offensive line was really, just kind of having to go with him, so to speak. But with all due respect to Salter, who I've seen at the home games more, is it's not as much running around, so the offensive line is not going to get that holding penalty. So they can almost be more of an offensive line, if that makes sense.
Bob, it makes a lot of sense, actually. And, I think a lot of the sacks last year that resulted actually came from Malik Willis's scrambling ability and just how athletic he was. He was able to keep some plays alive and he was able to use his legs, but a lot of times that was kind of his own worst enemy. So I think that made it tough on the offensive line last year. When you've got a quarterback who's a little bit more of a drop back or where he's going to be in the pocket, it makes your pass protection a little bit easier. But when you've got a guy that's so athletic like Malik Willis, who may, he may escape the pocket, he may flush and run right or run left. It really makes it tough on the offensive line, and they've got to hold those blocks a little bit longer. So, I actually think that having a quarterback that's not quite as mobile is actually working a little bit to the offensive line's benefit this year. Totally agree.
Talking to Pat Kelly, college football expert. Let's talk a little bit about, I'm going to let you be a teacher for a moment. A win's a win. like we said. But if you had to grade the team last week out of A, B, C, D, and F, put on your teacher hat for a minute.
Ooh, that's tough. And as I'm thinking through this, I want to say a C. When I think about the defense, I'm giving them a B+ or an A, again, just because of how much they were able to do. They contained a terrifically athletic quarterback in DJ Irons. They did a really good job for most of the game of kind of shutting that offense down. And there's some playmakers on that offense with Akron. So I think the defense, I would give them probably an A. From an offensive standpoint, that's probably where I'd give them a C. And, I think there's a lot of improvement that can be had across the board. On a special team standpoint, I'm probably going to grade them at a D right now, maybe a C-. I'm nervous for the Flames moving forward. As you play some of this stiffer competition, special teams is going to be huge. You've got to be able to make kicks, and you've got to be able to cover kicks. And those are two areas right now that I think that Liberty's struggling a little bit. So overall, I'll go ahead and give them a C. The defense, I'd give them a B. And special teams, they're kind of pulling up the rear a little bit right now.
Yeah, this is not a gambling podcast or anything like that. But, when you hear about them being favored like they were, and that game was very scary for a long time, in which, if a field goal goes through, Liberty could lose. So that's where I kind of want to grade a little bit lower if I was a grader. But you're the expert, so we'll go with what you say.
Hey, Bob, I'm always open to collaboration. So, I would put it back to you. What would you grade them?
I don't know. Like I said, I don't really want to you won the game, so I don't think you could get anything less than a B. But, like I said, that game was so scary to where if a field goal goes through, Akron could have been leaving Williams Stadium with a win for a while. So, I'll go ahead and give a B, though, because I don't think you can give a team that wins a C or – I'm sure Hugh Freeze and the staff can nitpick a lot more than I should, and they will, I hope. But for me, I got to give a B. ODU, what do you expect Liberty to get this weekend down in Norfolk?
That's tough. And one of the things that I'm thinking about, and you've heard it probably talked about all week long, is just the weather going into this game. And I think that's going to play a big factor into the game plan from both teams. But what I think we can definitely expect is I think we're going to see a lot of running the ball because there are those torrential downpour forecasts. And, I think that's something that probably plays a little bit more to Liberty's favor. They're averaging almost 200 rushing yards a game. And that doesn't necessarily benefit ODU because I believe they're averaging somewhere near 60 rushing yards a game, which is near the bottom of all NCAA teams. So I think you're going to see Liberty lean on the run, especially if Salter's not back, and especially if there's any type of question marks with the quarterback position. I know we saw Jonathan Bennett struggle a bit in the second half last week. He was then replaced by Nate Hampton, and they kept the ball on the ground a little bit. So probably a good amount of running from Liberty. One of the things that ODU and their coach, Ricky Ronnie, who was the OC at Penn State for quite some time, one of the kind of the underrated facets of his game is special teams. So I'm interested to see how they come out and they play from the special teams side of things.
We'll get you back on down the road to talk about college football and everything, but just to kind of get you out of here, it's a situation like you talked about. Liberty's going to have to run the ball. Liberty's going to have to play good special teams. Let's say Liberty gets out of Norfolk with the win. ODU beat Virginia Tech earlier this year. I know there are people that love to, compare, well, ODU beat Virginia Tech, so Liberty can beat Virginia Tech. True or false? I know there's a long way to go before that happens.
Yeah. Bob, I've never been one to subscribe to that transitive property of, well, this team beat that team and that team beat this team. And, you could go through that and you'd be like, well, Liberty could beat Alabama.
Right.
But, I do think from a coaching standpoint and from a talent standpoint, I honestly think that Liberty has the better team. So, I think ODU has terrific athletes. And, of the three schools, I think Liberty is probably number one, and then ODU and Tech are probably very close in terms of skill set. So to your original question, I do think that this Liberty team can beat Virginia Tech, especially with how good that defense has been playing this year.
All right. I would be remiss if I didn't let you publicize the podcast you do with Nick. Talk a little bit about, I don't want to say how fun it is to work with Nick, but talk about what you guys do.
Yeah, Nick Pierce, he is a great guy who, he's been with Liberty for a while, and he covered Liberty sports when I was still playing, which at this point feels like ages ago. I think we're like right at the decade mark now of when my last game was played, but Nick and I, we have kind of developed a relationship over the last couple years, and since I've been doing some of the broadcasting for some of the Liberty games, we kind of linked up one day, and he said, hey, would love to kind of have some insight from a former player. What are your thoughts? Do you want to do a podcast? And I was like, heck yeah, let's do it. And so he came up with the name Double Coverage Podcast, which I love. It's a little, a double entendre. But Nick does a great job, and I love getting to work with him because he does he's so plugged into all things Liberty sports. He's the sideline guy. He's at practices. He's in the daily press conferences. So it's a chance really to just meet with Nick and break things down about what we saw from the week prior, what we expect going into the upcoming week. And, then we kind of shoot the breeze a little bit, just all things life. We talked about my trip to France last week, and we talk about, his love of the Atlanta Braves. So it's kind of an all-around podcast, mostly focused on Liberty football, but, we like to kind of cut it up a little bit.
Right, and when you say it seems like ages ago, I remember when you played in high school. So let's not get too out there when you say it seems like ages ago, because now I really feel really old.
Well, you know what? Maybe we're both in the same boat. Maybe we're both just getting old.
Gosh, yeah, I'll go with that. There's no nice way I can reply to that other than, yeah. So anytime you want to talk about anything that Nick doesn't let you talk about, come back here and we'll fix you up. But Pat, definitely appreciate the time.
It was great to talk with you, and looking forward to a great game this weekend.